You are listening to the Daily Homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
At that time, Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. He revealed himself in this way. Together were Simon Peter, Thomas called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, Zebedee's sons, and two others of his disciples. Simon Peter said to them, "I am going fishing." They said to him, We also will come with you. So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. When it was already dawn, Jesus was standing on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. Jesus said to them, "Children, have you caught anything to eat?" They answered him, "No." So he said to them, "Cast the net over the right side of the boat, and you will find something." So they cast it and were not able to pull it in because of the number of fish. So the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he tucked in his garment, for he was lightly clad, and jumped into the sea. The other disciples came in the boat, for they were not far from the shore, only about 100 yards, dragging the net with the fish. When they climbed out on shore, they saw a charcoal fire with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you just caught." So Simon Peter went over and dragged the net ashore, full of 153 large fish. Even though there were so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come, have breakfast." And none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they realized it was the Lord. Jesus came over and took the bread and gave it to them, and in like manner the fish. This was now the third time Jesus was revealed to his disciples after being raised from the dead. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Simon Peter answered him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." He then said to Simon Peter a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Simon Peter answered him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Tend my sheep." Jesus said to him at the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was distressed that Jesus had said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Amen, amen, I say to you, when you were younger, you used to dress yourself and go where you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." He said this, signifying by what kind of death he would glorify God. And when he had said this, he said to him, "Follow me." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When we think of the resurrection, we think of Jerusalem. And this scene is here at the Sea of Galilee, so we are happy to be here at the Sea of Galilee. How many people all around the world would love to be here in the early morning at the Sea of Galilee when they hear this gospel today in all the churches around the world? And we are here. We are blessed to be here. And we even hear the birds singing, and this is the way the experience was. I wonder what kind of sunrise they saw that morning. But they saw the sun risen from the dead. And they didn't anticipate that. They were fishing, doing their normal things. So where do we find Jesus in our lives? In normal situations. Or maybe also in very special situations, because every situation is special. And today we also think of Jerusalem, of the church in Peter in Gallicantu. It's one of the places where this scene is painted, and it's painted in a parallel painting with another charcoal fire right there at Peter in Gallicantu, remembering Peter's denial when they were warming themselves near the fire. And so we have these two charcoal fires. 3 times Peter denies Jesus, and 3 times Peter is required by Jesus to answer the question, do you love me? So we have these parallels. Another parallel that came to mind this morning, early in the morning, that I'd never put together with this text before, is a psalm line that I love it. Since I was a little boy, I used to, on the farm, look for old tree trunks. And when the center of the tree trunk was rotting, the space was being created there, many times birds made their nest in there. And it was a safe space up high. Foxes couldn't get them. And they were able to have their young. And to see the birds coming in with the worm, and sometimes I was very close, and there were 3 or 4 little chicks inside the nest. And at that point, the bird didn't mind. I don't know if we were already knew each other or something. But you'd see the chicks opening their mouth and their big wide throat, which is about half the size of their body. And the mother, or I don't know if it was the daddy bird or the mother bird, and they were dropping in the worm for breakfast into the little chick. And there's this line in Psalm 81, and it says, open your mouth and I will fill it. So this is like the bird. You know, nature speaks to us so much about all of creation, about God's way of working, and we learn from this. And so we have this psalm, open your mouth and I will fill it. And you could see parents with a little baby giving the baby food. Open your mouth, because sometimes the baby doesn't want to open their mouth. And they resist the parents trying to feed it. They're on hunger strike for at least 2 minutes. And then I will open your mouth. I open your mouth and I will fill it. So here we have the opening of the mind and the heart of the disciples, and their nets are filled. So the breakfast is ready, cooking when they come out with their fish, and Jesus already has fish on the charcoal fire. That's also a little strange. And then he says, bring some of your fish, because that counts as well, what you're doing. The fruit of, when we have the Eucharist here with these little breads, you know, the fruit of the earth and the work of human hands. The gift we receive and the work of human hands. And God takes that into his way of redeeming us. The little things that we do are important for God. They're not insignificant. And yet he is the one that provides. We open our mouth and he fills it. We open our minds and he fills us with the truth of the gospel. We open our hearts and he fills us with love when we are in a desert situation, a frozen heart, an inability to forgive, to understand, to help, to have compassion, to mediate. Our hearts are often closed, and God is saying to us, open your heart and I will fill it. And this is Peter's heart. Peter is carrying around a lot of guilt. At some point, every single offense we have committed in life will have to be aired. It's aired on the radio or on television, but it's aired in just taking it out in conversation with the one who offended us, the one we offended. How do we air our histories? And Peter is carrying a recent history of major fault in his relationship with Jesus. He has denied him 3 times. And this needs to get aired. A good way to heal a little wound, a little cut on the skin or something, is let it have fresh air. We need to let the grace of God, the rays of the sunlight, God's creation to heal us. And here it's God's redemption. Because this was a very grave offense, Peter was his representative. And now we are also in the time of the conclave, and we can pray that the cardinals are tasked with this service to the church to discern with great circumspection and reflection and prayer and pondering and openness. God is saying, we're the sede vacante, we have an empty chair of Peter. Open your hearts and pray, and I will fill it. Open your minds, open your hearts, and pray. And when I fill it, listen. Maybe it's not according to the way you want it. Maybe there'll be a surprise, like we saw every time, at least in my little experience of Pope John Paul II, Pope John Paul I, then Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, and now we're waiting for another one. Open our hearts, open our spirit, open our church, be open to God's gift. He will fill the empty chair at this time. With maybe next Sunday we will already know the name of the person. We will already be praying the chair will be filled. So there's a lot here, people. What a wonderful way to see our presence among people who are hurting, who are alienated, who have a history of difficulty in their relationships. To be the one not to condemn, not to punish, not to judge, but to open the heart for a restoration of good relationships. What a way to live in the family, in the community, in the church, in politics, everywhere, to bring about reconciliation and new life, to fulfill the mission and affirm people in the great contribution each one can provide.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.